Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel and to another episode of Eddie versus the Algorithm, this time for Game Week 28. I hope it's not your first time watching, but if it is, make sure to subscribe down below if you want to follow along with this series where we're putting a man up against a machine for every game week of the FPL season and seeing which is better at FPL. So my free hit team last week actually underscored the algorithm, if you can believe it, by 1 point. March versus McAllister seemed to be the deciding factor, really. There were other personnel differences between the teams, but it ended up coming down to just that. 11 points for March, 10 points for McAllister, meaning the algorithm comes away with the win on its record for that week. So I'll be looking to move onwards and rebound from that very narrow, albeit defeat, as we move into Game Week 28 and kick things off by having a look at the algorithm team. So not quite the same high predicted points total that we saw last week in the double game week for the algorithm. Only 60 points this week predicted. But in goal, it is going to be Kepa Arrizabalaga as Chelsea go up against Everton at Stamford Bridge. I think this is one of the games with the highest clean sheet potential this week. And obviously Arsenal and other teams like that might do. But we don't really want to go for players like Ramsdale in order to try and capitalise on having the Arsenal outfield assets in our sides. Kepa Arrizabalaga looks a great goalkeeping option. He has returned a number of double-digit hauls in recent game weeks. Going up against Everton at home, who will probably try to play out for a draw, you'd expect, under Sean Dyche. I think that looks like a pretty good chance of a clean sheet for Chelsea, who also have a number of personnel back into their starting 11, which should help strengthen things as they seem to find a bit of form under Graham Potter. It seems finally they are starting to do that. Moving into the defence, we're going to see another Chelsea asset come in here, and the one who's been in the best form recently out of the backline is Ben Chilwell, grabbing a few goals as of late. He's got that great fixture up against Everton at home, of course, as well, and I think you just want to go for. With Reece James a bit uncertain over his fitness, I think Ben Chilwell looks a great option right now, whether to bring in on your wild card with a transfer. I think Ben Chilwell looks like one to own at the moment. And he's alongside two Newcastle defensive assets, and of course Trippier is one of those, but the other is Fabian Schär, as Newcastle travel to Nottingham to take on Nottingham Forest, who I don't think are the easiest away day at all. They've looked pretty good at home, Forest, as of late, but I still think Newcastle, they've been a very solid defence recently, and it's a nice chance of a clean sheet in that one for Newcastle. In midfield then, we're going to see a triple up on Arsenal assets with Martinelli, Odegaard and Bukayo Saka all making it into this team, but neither of them taking the captain's armband. Alongside Heung-min Son, who's gathered a return here or there as of late, but still isn't in that kind of form where he's that explosive Heung-min Son that can get you loads and loads of FPL points. But the algorithm taking a little bit of a punt on him, you would argue. Away at Southampton, I don't think is the easiest fixture. They've not got the worst defensive data at all. But Heung-min Son, as mentioned, he can come out with a hat-trick out of nowhere, these kind of points out of nowhere, and on a free hit, which the algorithm is on every week in this series, as am I. That's a pretty nice pun, I think. I like the look of that on paper. Martinelli, Odegaard and Saka, there's not really any dispute regarding these three. I mean, you could go for Trossard and take a little bit of a punt on that, but the algorithm's just decided it can't pick between them, so it's going to have all of them in its team over going with someone like an Arsenal defensive asset, which I can't really argue with. Crystal Palace don't look very good at all. They can't seem to score at all, so you could get an extra clean sheet point for all those three midfielders. I know having a defender would get you more, but still, midfielders do get an extra clean sheet point if Arsenal do keep a clean sheet in that one. And with the amount of shots that Crystal Palace have been having lately, I could see a decent chance of that happening at the Emirates. And up front, we're going to see the captain's armband fall to Ivan Toney, which I think is a little bit of a surprise in this one. But then Ollie Watkins and Harry Kane in the front line as well, who will all be popular picks for Game Week 28. Ivan Toney really is the talisman in that Brentford side. He kind of, if you looked up talisman in the dictionary, you'd probably find a photo of Ivan Toney next to a Brentford badge, because he seems to be involved in every single goal they're getting at the moment, and where they may not score as many goals as other teams, he is literally involved in almost every single one. A goal and an assist for him on Wednesday night, taking the captain's armband. I'm taking a little bit of a risk by not going with him for that home fixture against Leicester, where Brentford do look even better than they are on the road. Ollie Watkins coming in for that home fixture against Bournemouth. He's been going under the radar a little bit over the last few game weeks, but is now coming into the fold, and people are starting to consider him, as players like Erling Haaland don't have a fixture in game week 28. Could we take the risk of transferring him out for Ollie Watkins and bringing him in at a cheaper price, looking to bring in Haaland for a different forward in a few of the future game week down the line. And then finally, Harry Kane, again with that away fixture at Southampton. Southampton were actually the last team that Harry Kane scored a hat-trick against, have you know? So that might be a clue as to where my captain's armband going. Not for that reason, but we had the captaincy discussion in the quick guide video on Wednesday, as always. And then we'll look towards the bench now, and we can see St. Maximin on there, which is a bit of a surprising pick. Tyrone Mings, and then Max Kilman, as well as defensive assets down there, as well as Martinez of Aston Villa. Bournemouth at home is still a nice fixture in terms of clean sheet potential as well. You could look to someone like a Matty Cash, or if you really want to take a punt, I like the look of the assets I've got in my team, which we're going to switch over to now and have a look at. The predicted points total is always not as high as the algorithms. That's why it is the algorithm prediction, but 54 predicted points for me, and this is what I've gone with, a formation change to a 4-3-3 formation. I've stuck with some of the spine of the team, so I've kept the Arsenal midfield in there. I think that is a really good option to go for, and I just wanted to get some more of these little differential defensive options into my side. So I've gone with Alex Moreno. Bournemouth at home for Aston Villa, I think, is a really nice fixture, and he's looked really good at left back. This is a risk because Luca Dean has that minutes potential. He could come in and play instead of Alex Moreno, and Moreno could get subbed off the bench, and I could end up with a one-pointer for that. And going with him over someone like a Son in midfield is a massive punt, but I really like the look of it for 1 week and 1 week only. And then I've also gone with Pedro Porro, who seems to be nailing himself down, can I say it, a spot at the right wing-back role, on free kicks as well for Spurs, which is a very key thing. He's already struck the crossbar with one of those lately too. So him away at Southampton, I really, really like the look of. And then finally up front, I've taken that risk. I've gone without the algorithm's captain, in fact. I've gone with Kai Havertz instead for that home fixture for Chelsea against Everton. Let me know what you think of my team down below in the comments, because I'm really quite unsure as to whether I'm going to outscore the algorithm this week. I'm a little bit less confident than I would be usually, seeing Tony with the captain's armband, and if he goes big, that almost wipes out a chance of me getting a victory in this game week. On the bench, I did have the money, so I actually just stuck Heung-min Son down there on the bench when I was making my team, with Fabian Schär down there as well, both assets who are in the starting 11 for the algorithm, as well as Leon Bailey for that kind Aston Villa fixture, with Danny Ward as the backup keeper, if Kepa, albeit, doesn't play somehow. So yeah, that's going to wrap up Eddie versus the algorithm for game week 28. Let me know, as mentioned, down below in the comments, who do you think is going to come out on top, myself or the computer-generated team? I'm interested to hear your feedback on the video style as well. Let me know if there's anything I can improve. And if you did enjoy the video, then feel free to drop it a thumbs up if you would like. It really helps us out. It only takes a second. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. And it's that time where I'll wish you the best of luck for game week 28. And I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.